Hey guys, it's Ren. I'm going to take you through my process of how I saved $40,000 in 1 year. While not all these steps may be applicable to everybody, I think most of the key principles can be applied to anyone. First off, I did this in 2016. I was working as a nurse on a med-surg floor, and I left that job for a travel assignment in New Hampshire. This increased my pay by roughly 30%. Most people who leave their job for another job typically see about a 15% raise. So while this was more than the average, it's not too far off of a target. And especially nowadays, if you're a nurse looking at travel assignments, you could possibly make 2 to 3 times your current salary on a med-surg floor. In addition to increasing my salary by 3%, my travel agency also covered my housing expenses, such as rent and utilities. It also provided me with a stipend of about $200 a pay period for things such as food, toiletries. This allowed me to save even more overall. My second step was honestly living pretty frugally. During my year as a travel nurse, for the most part, my biggest expense at the time really was food. Even that, my utilities and rent were covered. I helped save on this by being pretty cheap with my groceries. I would typically eat a box noodle dinner. This is not something I would recommend to my patients nowadays, but if you're in your mid-20s as a travel nurse and you're trying to save money, it was helpful. In addition to that, I would also skip lunch, which allowed me to save on another meal. For breakfast, I was lucky enough to live in a long-term stay hotel during that year, which provided a minimal but sufficient breakfast of muffins, bananas, and coffee. I would take up their offer of breakfast pretty much every morning. This saved me on having to buy breakfast pretty much for nearly an entire year. I'd also take advantage of free coffee at work. My third step was really just putting in the extra work. I would typically work through lunch, which not only saved me having to buy lunch, but also allowed me an extra hour at work. In addition, I would typically spend 30 to 45 minutes at least every evening working overtime. On average, a week, I would typically get between 7 to 9 hours of overtime weekly. This really added up overall to help boost my savings. In addition to my 30% pay increase, if you included my overtime, I was making about twice the amount I was with my med-surg job. In addition to skipping lunch, working extra hours, the next and maybe one of the biggest things that helped me save money was my consistency. I consistently got 7 to 10 hours of overtime weekly. So with my additional pay raise, my overtime, with my agency covering a good portion of my expenses at the time, this allowed me to save up a fair bit of my funds. I would say overall I saved at least 50% of my income. I would still have the weekends where I would go out, where I would enjoy myself. I would travel, I would stop at small towns, I would meet people. I wasn't a pauper by any means. I enjoyed my time and I spent money while I traveled. That being said, during the week, I was intentional with my money on the weekdays so that I could be a bit more flexible with my money on the weekends. The most important thing about saving large sums of money is being consistent with it, putting in the time, the effort, and the energy, and doing that day in and day out on a consistent basis. If you found this video entertaining and helpful, please leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Additionally, I've put some affiliate links down below to items I use on a daily basis that I find really helpful, so check it out down below.